Okay, hopefully this is something that is interesting. Hopefully you understand the overall reason why I'm talking about this. I heard somebody else giving a conversation, giving a discussion about how when they were younger, they respected Malcolm more than they did Martin. And then as they got older, they began to shift and they respected Martin more than they respected Malcolm. And I can appreciate that. I can appreciate anybody who says, with anything in life, you grow and you change or you augment your ideas and stuff like that. I don't have an issue with that. I guess what I'm really doing is, well, let me put my own view on the record, please. So for me, when I was young, I definitely respected Malcolm way more than I did Martin. And now that I'm an old man, I still respect Malcolm way more than I do Martin. But at the same time, what I would have to say is I can't stand the notion that we make these kinds of comparisons about them or anybody else who made it their life, who made it their life's work, their life's mission to help organize us and help improve our conditions. I think we really need to take a look at why we do these comparisons. But, set that to the side. I think it's at least it's more important for me is that I explain why I haven't changed. Because I know a lot of people will say, if you look at the world the same way as when you're 50 as you did when you were 20, then you ain't really did no growth. I disagree with that. And here's why. At least in principle, because, for instance, with this whole Malcolm versus Martin thing, like I said, when I was younger, I respected Malcolm more. I'm older, I respect Malcolm more. But that don't mean I have any type of negative impression of Malcolm, or I'm sorry, of any negative impression of Martin. And here's what I really mean. Let's draw down on this thing. What I grew to learn is that my impression of Martin Luther King was not based upon the work that he actually did, was not based upon the ideology that he actually espoused. My impression was based entirely upon the narrative that had been crafted about him. My impression was based entirely upon what was taught in the school system, at least up through high school. So up through high school, you only learn about Martin as a pacifist. You only learn about Martin as a peace man, a man of peace. Like you hardly even learn about him as a PhD possessor. You hardly learn about his I don't want to say spirituality, but the way in which he approached the pulpit in and of itself. You hardly ever learn that, at least up through high school. Now, when if you go to college and you get a chance to study Martin Luther King as an individual, or you study the civil rights movement or something along those lines, then your eyes may open as you get exposed to more information. And again, you're like, well, damn, the curriculum is what do they say in Germany? The curriculum is scheiße, or scheisse. Since I ain't supposed to be using no curse words. And so again, the idea is, what I'm saying is, when it comes to the impression, the understanding of Martin, the quote unquote, the respect of Martin, even if you don't have any qualms about making the comparisons, then at least there should be this idea that, well, maybe we weren't told enough. Maybe we weren't taught enough about Martin or Malcolm for all that matters. But again, so I'm like, I haven't changed my position on Malcolm. I would still put him above Martin. That's me. I ain't saying anybody got to agree with that. But what I will say is I have a very much more profound respect for Martin than I did when I was younger. You know, again, all up through high school, all you ever heard was turn the other cheek, as if that was the nuts and bolts, the foundation of his philosophy. And so, you know, it's only as of recently, at least like in social mediaville, when people started promoting some other clips. You know, and if you're in those circles, then you would attest to this. You would like, you know, that it was only recently where, you know, the clip of him talking about the burning house, the clip of him talking about don't let nobody disrespect you, the clip of him talking about, well, this, that, and the other. There's all these other little pockets and snippets that people have been sharing. And sometimes they're sharing it because, hey, it's Black History Month. And sometimes they're sharing it because they just found out. Did y'all know this? Either way, again, my idea is there's so much information that is out there, and sometimes it's right under our nose, and sometimes it's right at our fingertips, and we just don't know it. And we allow somebody else. Now, we can point fingers. It could be mass media. It could be the school curriculum. Either way, it's somebody else who is crafting the narrative. And that's the real problem. And that's the problem I see with so many different things when it comes to just overall awareness, just overall academic knowledge about almost anything and everything that pertains to specifically or especially Blackness, Black history, Black Americanity, African Americanness, us Africans in the Western Hemisphere. Y'all see where I'm going with that. So again, that's just my thoughts. If you feel like I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. If you feel like I'm right, let me know in the comments. What was your first impression? What was your overall impression of Martin Luther King in general? Or in comparison, since that's how I started, in comparison with Malcolm X, based on what you were taught in school. Now, again, I openly admit, you know, I'm old, so the curriculum may have shifted. So maybe I'm only talking about my generation. But anyhow, like I said, this is your brother Shabazz. This was just I used to do this thing called walk and talk. It's winter. It's too cold for me to walk. So this is just my talk. So again, this is Brother Shabazz. Like, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you think. What was your first impression of Martin Luther King? And I'll check you out. Now I will respond to the comments. Peace.